One of the sisters has been doing embroidery for many years. It's her hobby, which she can't turn into a business. The girl showed her work, and her sister Alice is always crazy about how beautifully she does it. It seems to her that if her sister finally decided to make money from this, then her work would be worth a lot. The girl always encourages her sister. She believes that someday her hobby will bring in huge money. Only now she lacks the determination for this. Alice is an adopted child of the Duchy of Orwin. Her father is a distant relative of this family who died and left his daughter alone. The girl had lived a very poor life before being taken in by this family. It was hard for her sister to believe that she had a difficult past, considering how kind of a person she had grown up to be. Another thing is, Christina, although she grew up in good conditions, she has no friends. People constantly avoid her when she tries to get to know them. The girl noticed more than once that as soon as she came to some event, not a single person would appear in the corner of the hall where she would be. When she tried to talk to someone and even directly ask why she was being ignored, everyone remained silent. People just look at her like if they say a word to her, they'll get into trouble. From year to year, Christina felt more and more like a nobody, but she couldn't come to terms with it. The girl dreams of having a friend to spend time with, go shopping, laugh. But no one will do this with her, even for money. At some point, she stopped showing herself to people altogether and lost count of how many years she had been keeping herself locked up in this house. Alice invites her to go to some party that will be in a few days, but she doesn't even want to explain that it's impossible and that if she goes there, she'll only ruin her mood. Although she understands that she needs to be there, if she once again feels like an empty space and sees how people are moving away from her, she will begin to hate herself even more. Alice immediately began to persuade her. She promised that she would do it so that the girl would not even notice, and that she says she doesn't know what to say because Alice has no idea what she'll feel like at this party. The sister believes that she will be able to persuade her, although the girl would not mind getting some serious injury now, so that she would not have the physical ability to leave the house. Christina hasn't decided anything yet. She just thanked him for such words and promised that she would definitely think about it. Probably if it weren't for her sister, she would have gone crazy a long time ago. Because apart from her, she doesn't have anyone with whom she can just talk or even just sit next to on the couch. Alice is free all day today, so she thought, why not visit her mother this evening, especially since the three of them haven't seen each other for a long time. The girl replied that it was a good idea, but the problem was that they weren't allowed to approach her. Over the past few years, the woman's condition has deteriorated greatly, so now she is undergoing treatment in a secluded room. So much time has passed, and Christina still cannot visit her. Because any visits are strictly prohibited, her mother needs peace and quiet. Alice thinks that there is no problem with this. She offers to come for just a couple of minutes and is sure that her mother will only be happy. In the end, they agreed to meet near Mom's room after lunch. As soon as Christina agreed, her sister turned away and reacted somehow so strangely, it was as if she showed her true face for a moment. It is possible that she didn't just suggest going to Mom's place for no reason. Maybe she wants to set up her sister and is no different from those people who don't like Christina. Meanwhile, because of the rain and thunderstorm, it became dark outside. The girls ate. Christina is already here, and Alice is nowhere to be seen. The girl was already set to see her mother, so she didn't wait for her sister and decided to go to her first. She opened the door very quietly, said that it was her, and had already managed to shed tears because she so badly wanted to see her mother's face, when suddenly she saw something that made her speech impedimental. And if the girl gives in to emotions, she might even lose consciousness. She saw something, after which she froze in the same place and could not believe her eyes because she did not expect Alice to be capable of this. The girl didn't even immediately realize what was happening. It's very difficult to get your bearings in such a situation, and this is very bad because Mom is about to suffocate. And because of emotions, Christina lost several minutes. Although during this time she could have pushed Alice away and helped her mother, she still doesn't understand what's going on. Her sister never said anything bad about this person, and then this happened. The girl begins to see her mother's hand, which does not even move. She gets goosebumps on her body and some strange feeling, as if she just saw a real person's face. Since she still doesn't understand anything, she ran up to her sister and asked what she was doing. although everything should be clear anyway. Alice turns around with a look as if this is some kind of trap. And now the most interesting part's about to begin. She broke a vase that was on the nightstand to attract adults, and also started to cry fake to make herself look like a victim. The father and two assistants come in. They see the girl crying and automatically start to feel sorry for her, without even understanding the situation. Alice runs up to her father, pushing her sister, and starts telling him that she just saw something terrible. The man asks her what happened, and she cries even harder, as if she was scared and can't talk about it calmly. She's quite the actress. Christina simply doesn't believe what she hears. She still feels that Alice will be believed more, especially after such tears. Even if she now says that her sister herself just tried to destroy Mom, they won't even listen to her. The sister manipulated so well that now there is no chance for these three to even think that it might not be true. The father didn't say a single word. Then he simply ordered to lock his daughter in the basement and also promised to come up with the main punishment for her. He has no words to say anything to her. Now, not only strangers, but also her family have started to treat Christina as an enemy. Phrases began to sound from all sides that she should go to the next world after her mother. But it sounds terrible, and no one even guesses that she does not deserve such treatment, and that the real villain is now free. And they, like her before, think that she is an angelic child. Now it's clear what that strange look was about. Now she has no desire to see or hear this person. And even if the girl finds out why she did this, it still won't change anything. Alice will still get her way. The next day came. Christina didn't sleep all this time. She listened to every rustle because she was warned that if someone came to her, it would only be to take them to punishment. Her sister had already come to her. She apparently out of habit made a cute expression on her face, which now looks not cute, but rather frightening. She also started talking in a soft voice, as if on purpose to make her sister emotional. She succeeded, and after that, Alice started asking how she slept here, as if she herself didn't know that it was simply impossible to sleep here. She even dared to say that she was very sorry that everything turned out this way. But these words were simply impossible to hear. Alice started by saying that, firstly, in this family, they now only believe her, and every word she says can be used against her sister in any way, as far as her impudence and imagination go. And the worst thing is that Christina doesn't even know what her sister's main plan is. It's obvious that this is just the beginning. She's clearly planning something more global. If only she knew what exactly. Christina couldn't hold back any longer. She asked her to explain everything from the very beginning anyway. There was no point in her pretending to be a loving sister anymore. She wants to know why she is doing this, how it all started, and was it really necessary to do this? Because if Alice wanted something, her sister could help her with it. The girl asked to look at her. What a popular and sweet girl she is, whom everyone loves and adores. Her plans include achieving popularity, people's trust, money, so that when she had to leave her parents, she could go to bed on her own and not need anything. For her, deceiving someone is as easy as pie, and sometimes it even brings great pleasure because it feels that it is smarter and more cunning than others. Christina realized that her sister had clearly not thought about this a couple of days ago. This was her long-standing plan, which she was moving towards slowly but surely. Alice also said that when they first met, she thought that since Christina doesn't know what suffering is, she should be given the opportunity to experience it all herself. From the very first day, she was irritated by how good the girl looked and how happy she was from her parents' love. It seemed to her that if she was suffering, then it was unfair that someone else was doing well and wonderful in all areas of life. When she thought that she needed to take all the attention and swap with them so that it would be fair. It would be one thing if she felt all this only for Christina, her half-sister. But she also planned to destroy the whole family so that she would be the only ray of sunshine for them, and so that the whole mood in the house would depend on her. She started telling horrible things, how sometimes she would come to the room where the woman was lying, not go in to see her, but make some frightening sounds so that she would get scared and it would only get worse. The girl slowly ran to her death. She did this almost every day and waited for the news that she would finally be gone. And also when she strangled her, she did it through the same handkerchief that Christina gave her yesterday morning. If only the girl knew what Alice really was, and that if it weren't for her, her mother could have recovered. everything could have been completely different. When Christina started asking how Alice could do this to them, these questions only amuse her, and she also feels a little disgusted by the fact that there are overly naive people in this world. The girl still thinks that she hasn't done enough to be completely satisfied, and since her mother's death and being locked up aren't enough for her, it's scary to even imagine what else she's capable of. Alice said goodbye to her sister with pleasure, thanked her for being so naive, and not only her, but her whole family. The next day came. Everyone who didn't treat the girl very well came to see how the last minutes of her life would go. Now that her sister and even her father betrayed her, there is not a single person in the world who could help her now or even want to do so. Not only is she already tied up and resigned to death, but they also throw stones at her and everything that is lying on the ground. They want to humiliate her completely. Someone even hit her in the head, and the rest started laughing at this. It's also unfair that this situation simply cannot be described. She is probably not the first and not the last who will unfairly end up in this place. When someone started telling her what she was accused of, the girl looked to the side and saw her father, who, surprisingly, even looked worried. She started shouting her voice so that he could hear her, but he didn't react at all, as if he was a stranger to her, just like the others. The girl doesn't believe that he is so indifferent to her and that he can so easily listen to his adopted daughter. As soon as he started to think about what he should do and whether he should react to her tears, at that moment Alice came up to him. She began to remind him that if this person remained alive, only someone would suffer because of it. So such people should be punished without thinking. As usual, he believed her. Thought that indeed, since he had raised such an ungrateful daughter, he had to pay for it. It's very hard for him not to look in her direction. Alice helps him with this. That's how it all usually happens. He listens to her literally in everything, and the girl laughs behind her back because she doesn't even have to persuade anyone. It's enough to just say something and everyone immediately agrees with her. This is what it means, a cute appearance and a difficult past, which she decided to share, or rather, arrange for everyone around her. It's impossible to watch how calmly Alice watches this whole situation, and she even dares to smile. And it's also strange that no one notices this, as if there is nothing special about it and they are now watching an ordinary performance at the circus. He deliberately looks at Christina so that the last thing she sees in this life is her smile. Meanwhile, Christina now wants only one thing, for the person who arranged all this to pay and be held accountable. When suddenly her eyes darkened, then the girl suddenly woke up and began to hear familiar voices. She thought that these were her memories, but she still feels her body and feels that everything is real. At first, two silhouettes of people appeared in front of her, and then her vision was restored and she saw her parents. Mom and Dad are standing next to her, worried about her, and Christina also felt like she had become a couple of years younger. The mother is happy that her daughter has finally come to her senses, and began to tell how they were worried about her and what a miracle happened that the girl opened her eyes. They already thought that nothing could help her, but a doctor came, and even he couldn't bring her back to consciousness. She somehow managed it herself. Then she looked at herself in the mirror and saw that she really had become much younger, at least by a couple of years. Christina doesn't understand anything. She's sure that she's still alive, but it can't be that that dungeon and everything else was a dream. The girl doesn't say anything, tries to comprehend the situation, and just at that moment her sister runs up to her, and she also looks completely different from how she looked when she saw him last time. She started to pretend as if she was worried, asking how Christina was feeling. But now the girl understands that her red face and cheeks are not real worries. She probably pinched her face or did something similar just for show. Father began to tell that Alice found her near the tree and, according to her assumption, Christina fell from it when she was picking apples. The sister told the assistant about it, and she told everyone else about it, which means that sometimes the girl did good deeds on purpose to gain even more trust. And then Christina begins to remember that such a situation had already happened. Then she was about 9 years old. It turns out that the girl returned to her past. And now she has the opportunity to make sure that no one ever gets hurt because of her sister. She will always remember that situation and will not allow it to happen again. As soon as Alice said that she was worried about her, Christina started laughing, very loudly and for a very long time. The sister was upset because she doesn't understand what's so funny about it. If only she knew that now the girl sees right through her, and her revenge will start right from that day. She said that she just remembered one funny situation, but in fact she laughed because she was already imagining how Alice would end up in the place where she had been just a moment ago. It turns out that now the most interesting part begins. Now it will be much easier for Christina. She still knows the future and knows her sister's intention, so she can always be one step ahead. Meanwhile, the parents are worried that their daughter won't overexert herself. They asked her to stay in the room, although they understand how difficult it is at such an age. The father explained that they only wanted the best for her and that it would be best if she fully recovered and did not become active for the foreseeable future. As it turns out, they have some very bad news because due to what happened to her, they won't be able to take their daughter to an event that will be in a couple of days. Her father thinks it would be better for her to stay home to avoid loud noises, and especially since she shouldn't strain her legs now. Everything would be fine, but she knows that there will be one person there whom she dreamed of meeting, or at least seeing. This is the prince, who for the first time in recent years decided to agree to come to the event. Christina is very upset. She can't imagine how to convince her parents. And she also feels bad looking at Alice, who also dreamed of seeing this man, and she will succeed. The girl began to tell her parents how she was waiting for this moment, that she was going to choose the best dress and would be the most beautiful at the ball. It was strange for the father to hear that his daughter wanted to please an adult. Maybe he just didn't understand that it was just a matter of him noticing them, nothing more. Christina thought that something had to be done about this. She wouldn't survive if her sister went there and she stayed here. And she also started to have ideas on how to prevent her sister from seeing the prince. For example, asking her parents to let her stay with her. Supposedly this way, she would be very pleased and calm. Kingdom of wealth, land of plenty. Thanks to the strict and just rule of the king, the power of the nobles is restrained and an absolute monarchy is established. The one and only principal that the king was eagerly awaiting, Leo Rickelson, who began to bathe in love from the first day of birth. Everyone was sure that he would surpass his father and become a very wise man. So they helped him in every possible way and gave him the best education. As a result, when the great nobles were already trying to deceive the king with sweet words, Prince Leo, at the age of 15, punished them and took their lives. He has always been a fair man. He will be the next king, and his only flaw is that he is quite cold to everyone. Because of this, he was nicknamed the cold-blooded prince, so some are embarrassed to approach him or even say hello. Once, she literally saw him for a couple of seconds at a great distance, and now she wants to see him up close. They say that his eyes are very cold and terribly emotionless, so much so that it is simply impossible to look into these eyes for a long time. Somehow she managed to convince her mother to convince her father to let her go to this event. But even after that, she is worried about a lot of things. The girl is a little afraid to meet him, but at the same time, she has no other choice. The assistant helped her do her hair, apply light makeup and choose a dress, and as a result, Christina looks gorgeous like a princess. All this time, the girl thought that he was much older, but he is turning 10 years old, and accordingly, he is older by only 1 year. Now she is even more interested in seeing him at least from afar. Now they have come to the event itself. They are all still a little awkward, but it will quickly pass. It is customary for them that everyone who comes to the ball must introduce themselves and greet all those who are already here and who arrived first. The girl introduced herself in a very pleasant voice and said that she was glad to see everyone. They started applauding her because she had a very beautiful dress. It was incredibly nice. She didn't think that they were friendly here, or maybe they did it only because it was customary. In any case, she became much more comfortable, and that's the main thing. After all, no one is obliged to like her here, and no one is obliged to treat her well. This is an absolute norm in Soviet society, and in the meantime, the head of the family represents all the others who are embarrassed to speak up. He started with his wife, and when he was about to tell about Alice, the girl said that she could handle it herself, pushed Christina away and stepped forward. It was very ugly on her part. The girl was even surprised how she had not noticed such obvious situations before. Because the way a person behaves in a situation where he forgets to control his behavior shows his true face. Alice, as she wanted, received a lot of compliments. She even enjoyed talking to people who were much older than her. She thanked them all for such warm words, and when she turned away, she had such a look as if all these words only charged her with energy. She becomes more self-confident. But now everything will not be so simple. After all, her sister will not allow her to take advantage of her family's privileges for the second time. She also tries to act nice, but all she does is come up with a plan that will be so perfect that Alice will one day look at her in tears and beg for mercy. After worse, Mom started to worry that her daughter might feel bad. After all, it's very noisy here, and she has to walk a lot. Christina calmed her down and said that she feels great, and if she stayed at home, she would feel much worse, because she thought about her condition. In this way, she gets distracted a little. She also said that the people here are so good that they seem to heal her and add energy that she didn't have that morning. Meanwhile, Christina went outside for a walk. It was so quiet here that she regretted not having come here earlier. This meant that she lied when she said that sounds and communication with people healed her. Her head is literally splitting from everyone talking around her, and it's so loud that she can't even hear the main music. She felt hurt that she never saw the prince, although everyone around was saying that he had agreed to come. This is the first time she was alone and was able to think about what to do next. And she also noticed that when her sister's around, she cannot control herself, and it is very difficult for her to pretend as if nothing happened. It seems to her that one day when Alice goes too far, she will tell her everything she thinks, even if her parents are nearby. Christina is sitting quietly by the fountain, and suddenly she heard some sounds, similar to a child crying. It's strange because when she came here, there was no one here, or maybe she just didn't notice. The girl began to listen because she is not like her sister. She can never pass by or ignore a person who is feeling bad. She only had to look into the bushes to see a boy. At first, she didn't recognize him, but then she took a closer look and saw some things on him that only a prince can wear. She felt very sorry for him. She even forgot about his status. She felt sorry for him as a person because she herself knows what it is like to cry so that no one can see or hear it. Then she came up to him to somehow support him. But she didn't take into account the fact that usually when a person is in such a state, he is too embarrassed when he is noticed. But it is obvious that he is hiding here. It took him a couple of seconds to calm down. He wasn't used to showing his tears to strangers, especially to a girl. The guy asked who she was and why she came to him in a tone as if he was clearly not happy about her appearance. She knew perfectly well how he might react to her, but she still decided to do it because she would also like someone to feel sorry for her in such situations. Naturally, the boy started to get angry. He is unhappy that she saw him in this situation. Most likely, he is now asking her to leave or will leave himself. Leo started asking her some weird questions like, who told her she could just look at him like that? Christina felt offended that he was talking to her like that, although if she were in his place, she would probably talk the same way. Now it's clear why they say that he is very cold. Even in those situations when they want to help him, the guy is apparently not used to relying on others, and now it is very clearly visible. So that he could better understand who she was, Christina told him that she was the eldest daughter of the Duke of Orwain and that her name was Christina. She explained that she didn't come to laugh at him, but on the contrary, to support him or help him if needed. She also said that she was very sorry that he was uncomfortable in front of her now, and also made it clear that with her, he could not be ashamed of his emotions because she understood him very well and did not at all consider tears to be some kind of shameful display of emotions. The girl didn't expect this, when suddenly he says that, so be it, accepts her apology, and also asks her to raise her head and look him in the eyes. He also wanted to introduce himself, although it was not necessary, because literally everyone knows this information perfectly well. After that, he said that he didn't like that she saw his tears, and she promised that if it was so important and necessary, then she could forget about this situation and explain that she didn't plan to tell anyone about it because she is not that kind of person. Then something happened to him. He told her that it was better not to pretend and not to waste time on it because her words sounded too funny and he had no doubt that only she would leave here. Tell her friends about everything and they would laugh at him together, and then even more people would find out about it. She answered him that he was very much mistaken. She was not like most people, and he would be able to see this for himself in time when he realized that no one had ever found out that he had cried. She is very interested in why he is so distrustful, cold, He should have a wonderful life, but you can't tell from him. He started saying that it was unpleasant to look at a person who pretends to be good, and then it turns out that he was right. Since that's the case, she decided to tell him that she doesn't even have friends or people with whom she can discuss something or someone, so that situation will remain only in the memories of the two of them. But if Alice had noticed him, a lot of people would have definitely found out from her. But the prince was crying and hiding in the bushes, only she didn't tell him this. She really wants to understand how to approach him. It will be very difficult, but she has a feeling inside that it is possible. After all, they have a lot in common and very soon he will find out about it. Unless, of course, he asks not to bother him anymore. And in the meantime, when he had already begun to hint that it was time for him to go, in order to hook him and interest him, she had to say one phrase, namely, that she knew that someday he would become a great duke, even if now it seemed that it was impossible. Leo expected everything from her, but not this. She, as she wanted, interested him. Now he is interested to know how she knows this, because even he can't be sure that he will become a duke, and she so easily told him that it will be so. It also always seemed to him that someone else would take the place of the duke, because if he had the opportunity to take this place, he would have been told something about it and advised to prepare. Suddenly he came closer to her and admitted that while he was not talking, he noticed that he felt somehow comfortable and very easy with her. The girl answered him as it is, that if he hadn't tried to get angry, then it would have been very comfortable with him too. Then she started telling me that she had once talked to her mother, and she said that if you tell someone about your problems more often, without hoping that this person can help, it will still become easier. But if she had a person who could talk about such things, it would be much better. It is possible that they are similar in this, and it is precisely because he had a heart-to-heart talk with her that they both felt better. At first she couldn't even dream of this, but now Leonid shakes her hand and sincerely thanks her for who she is. He even said that if it weren't for her, he would have continued to cry in the bushes, but now it was as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. She told him that if such a situation ever happened again, she would be only too happy to listen and support him at any convenient time. After such a heartfelt conversation, they thought, why not return to the banquet together? Only Christina clearly did not expect this from him. She felt very pleased, but at the same time awkward, because knowing Alice, she would never forgive her for this and might even try to switch the guy's attention to herself. So as soon as possible, it is very important to tell him about this person so that Leo knows in advance with what intention Alice will approach them. But for now, he knows nothing. Of course, as soon as they return, or to be in the spotlight, because it simply couldn't be any other way. Christina is already afraid that her sister will start acting very quickly and, as usual, will try to ruin everything. Then she saw that Alice was already approaching. This was absolutely expected, only now she needed to quickly figure out what to do. Christina even got angry at herself, because if she had taken a minute to warn Leo about everything, she wouldn't be so worried now. The sister comes up, smiles with her signature smile, and a look that the prince probably won't guess what's hidden behind all this. Christina already wants to turn back, time to do everything differently. But it's too late. She'll have to get out of this situation as it comes. Alice started asking where they met, why she didn't invite her to join her, and these are questions that are impossible to answer. Because there is hidden manipulation in these words. This is how Alice usually controls the interlocutor in order to take the situation into her own hands and make herself offended. Only she did not take into account one point. Now as before, it will not be. Christina replied that they had gotten into such a conversation with the prince that they had come here only out of respect for the guests, so that no one would think that the birthday boy was not interested in them. And she also started telling me what a wonderful person Leo is, and if it weren't for the holiday, they would have talked to him until the night. Alice didn't get the hint that they were doing great without her. She started telling some information about herself that the guy didn't even have time to remember. She showed herself as a very intrusive person, and he didn't like it right away. It's clear that she dreamed of meeting him for so long that it's very difficult for her to control herself now. And she also allowed herself to touch his face. Although such treatment is unacceptable with people who know each other a little, she now violated all existing rules of etiquette. The worst thing is that she doesn't understand this. And he, in order not to offend such a nice girl, is forced to remain silent, especially since he knows that this is Christina's sister, and probably that's the only reason he behaves as calmly as possible. The girl sees perfectly well how her sister takes all his attention. It disgusts her to watch that. Even if Leo didn't want it, Alice would still continue to talk to him. Maybe she doesn't care that she is the best person. She most likely wants to show her sister that between them, guys will always choose only one. Christina was afraid to intervene, but the prince did it instead of her, as if he sensed what kind of girl she really was. Or maybe he just doesn't want to allow them too much, and especially make Christina wait. He noticed that she was standing aside and waiting for him, and if she finished speaking, and he also felt uncomfortable when she started touching her face, he thought that if she behaved like this at the first meeting, then everything would only get worse. He didn't come here to talk to anyone or meet anyone, and especially not to such impudent people. He asked her what she was allowing herself to do, and who told her that he wouldn't mind getting to know her. She immediately became quiet and started looking at him like a kitten that had just been scolded. He also said that he wasn't going to listen to anything from her because he simply wasn't interested, and the boy also advised her to ask before telling someone something whether they were interested or not. Alice wasn't so much offended that he reacted like that as that everyone around could see it, especially since he was saying all this very loudly, as if on purpose. So are we, ahem. Christina immediately began to apologize to him for her sister. In fact, she absolutely did not care how Alice looked from the outside. She just wanted to make everything as if her younger sister did not yet know how to behave in high society, and even said that perhaps she should have been left at home so as not to disgrace the family. Alice, as soon as she heard this, became indignant, and Christina continues to talk as if she doesn't hear her. Her goal is to make her sister look like she is still a child and doesn't know how to behave properly with the people she meets. And the guy helps her with this very well. He even did the main part of the work, disgraced her, and pointed out her mistakes in front of everyone. After that, he even left with a displeased expression on his face, as if he regretted inviting Alice and not excluding her from the list. Christina understands perfectly well that this is acting and that as soon as they have the opportunity, they will see each other again and discuss everything. The younger sister is already crying. She is absolutely unhappy with everything that is happening, and she also wants to yell at the people who have already started discussing her. She wanted to do this to Christina, but she ended up in her own trap. This is the first time her older sister finally showed herself and put her in her place. At the very least, now all people will think that Alice is still too young to be invited to an event, and next time, she is unlikely to receive an invitation. It's already evening outside. The whole family's getting ready to go home. They called a carriage and decided to leave early so as not to return when nothing can be seen. The parents are very happy with today. They had a great time, even managed to meet someone. Christina doesn't look upset either, but the youngest child doesn't even talk to anyone. The only thing that makes her happy is that her parents didn't see her shame. They were just on the street at that moment and didn't have time to find out anything yet. And when her mother turns to her, she starts to smile, pretending to be a sweet child, although inside she is now experiencing a storm of negative emotions that she barely hides. She especially didn't like the moment when Christina started telling who she met, although from the outside it's impossible to see how unpleasant it was for her. After they had already discussed all the most interesting things, they began to drive in silence, and everyone thought about their own. She really wanted to know what in the past had influenced the prince so much that he was so distrustful and almost didn't let anyone near him. He even sat in the bushes for almost the entire holiday, although it was his birthday and he wasn't even interested in accepting gifts. Because she sees herself in him, she really wanted to get closer to him, because they would understand each other very well and could possibly become good friends. Although he probably doesn't think about it, for her it would be very cool, and maybe their meeting and situation today was fate or some kind of sign that they need to get to know each other better, and maybe they could help each other. She had never felt so comfortable with anyone, even when she trusted her sister. She didn't feel such warm emotions with her as she did with him. And when he said that he also felt very at ease with her, these words remained in her head and will probably not disappear for a very long time. The next day had already arrived. All night Christina thought about him and was worried that they might never see each other again. She is also completely prepared for what Alice is talking to her about yesterday's situation because she needs to be patient and rehearse what she will tell her. In any case, now she feels much more confident. Now she will just have to train her endurance, self-confidence, and become a little more like her sister, but only to cope with her herself. Christina stood calmly in the hallway. A woman approached her as usual with a displeased face, as if the girl had done something to her. Christina had never seen this man in a good mood, at least not in her presence. The teacher asks why Christina isn't doing anything right now, as if how can she waste time like that if she could devote it to studying? And before it was like this, when Christina caught her eye, the woman, like now, was indignant and was constantly dissatisfied with something. The girl felt guilty about this, but now she doesn't care about it. She herself knows that she has good success in this matter and is not going to apologize to a person who did not even say hello to her. The girl replied that she didn't have time now, especially since classes only started in the evening. Then she would remember and devote time to studying. In this woman's opinion, she should spend all her free time reading, writing, studying, but now she has other problems in her life that are more important. The teacher didn't just come to complain. Today their schedule is changing and the class is moved a couple of hours earlier. She just didn't like the fact that she had to search for the girl all over the territory. Christina had an idea. Why not put the teacher in her place? After all, there was not a single day when she treated her normally, although she gets good money for her work. The only problem is that classes are held for two sisters at the same time. No matter how much the teacher teaches them, she constantly asks questions only for the older sister and seems to pity the younger one. Christina never liked it. She will probably try to hint that it is wrong because she plans to change everything that did not suit her before as much as possible. She still doesn't understand how you can hire such a terrible teacher. Her parents have never been present at lessons, so they don't realize that there are some problems with this. The only good thing about this is that thanks to this, Christina is much smarter than her sister, although so far, this knowledge has not been useful to her anywhere. And when the girl makes even one mistake, the teacher looks at her as if she disappoints her, although at the same time, Alice would not answer a single question, and they all know it perfectly well. The next day came. The woman did not think that one of her parents would call her, and for this, Christina tried hard. She hinted to her mother that the teacher was too picky with her, and she didn't like it, that she was completely uncomfortable in class, and she constantly felt guilty while Alice did nothing, was silent all the time, and this was, at the very least, unfair. Warned the teacher that there would be several complaints against her today, but only so that everyone would feel more comfortable and no one was going to fire her. Unless, of course, after this conversation, she wanted to leave them herself. The teacher asks what exactly they want to discuss, and the girl's mother replies that it would be better for Christina to tell them herself what she doesn't like. They talked a little. The woman got very angry, but she didn't show it in front of the lady. And when she started to leave, Alice stopped her and said that she had a little conversation with her, if of course she had time and desire for it. The girl is confident that her words will interest the teacher because she feels that they can be on the same side. So that no one would hear, Alice quietly said that she had something to talk about and asked to give her just a couple of minutes. And after that, she whispered that she heard how Christina and her mother discussed that the teacher needed to be replaced and that they should do something to make her guilty first, find a reason and fire her. Victoria, as soon as she heard that they wanted to get rid of her, immediately got angry, although she understands that no matter how offended she is, nothing will change if the lady listens to her daughter. She will simply lose her job. Alice says that she personally heard this, and she is the only one who is against this idea, which means that maybe she has some plan or idea to leave the teacher and continue the difficult training for her sister. She really likes it when Christina tries, and she still gets told that something is wrong. The woman understands perfectly well why the girl might be unhappy with her, but she didn't think that Christina would dare to talk about it. Alice starts laughing that everything is not as scary as it seems, because it has always been like this, that when she says something to her mother, she manages to convince her. She suggests talking to her mother and telling her that her sister is simply lazy about studying, and that is why she thinks that the teacher is biased towards her, and she might even advise putting pressure on Christina, saying that she should devote more time to studying and not change teachers just because they make her study something. Finally, the girl said that she was her favorite teacher, and she really didn't want to say goodbye to her, so she would do everything she could to make it happen. The lady told how pleasant it is for her to listen to the teacher's voice when she explains something. Although in reality, she never really listens to her. She just waits for the lesson to end so she can do her own thing. The woman thought it was true. She began to feel embarrassed, touched. She had never heard anything like that before, and now if they succeed, she will treat the younger student even better and will begin to hate the older one even more. And here the conspiracy begins. Victoria promises that if the girl helps her stay at work, she will give her only good grades and tell her parents what a diligent child she is and that she is doing great. Naturally, this is a very profitable deal for both of them. Now Alice needs to think about what exactly to tell Mom. The girl asks the teacher not to worry because she is almost sure that there is nothing to be afraid of here. Because in most cases, Christina's requests are not even considered. Her mother could have just listened to her, but this does not mean that after this, something will change. Victoria did not regret that she always treated this repair well. She says that she felt that only one girl from them was normal, and even regretted that she did not get upset with Christina often enough. She can't wait for her student to finally do the job so she can start humiliating her sister again and punish her for such behavior. They had a very good talk, everyone was happy, but the main thing is that Christina now takes into account the fact that her sister is unlikely to allow her favorite teacher to be fired. She needs to have a very serious talk with her mother so that Alice doesn't have a chance to do things her way, and she's very good at it. One can already imagine that if Victoria stays, Christina's studies will become even harder than before, but Alice will be able to not strain herself at all and get high grades. But even in this case, Christina will be able to easily teach them a lesson. She can tell her mother that her sister gets grades for nothing, and if her mother wants, she will check what Alice has learned over the whole year. But most likely, she will not be able to answer a single question. And Christina, even if she learns everything perfectly and doesn't miss a single class, is unlikely to get even an average grade. An open conflict has begun between them. Everything was about the same before, but now it will only get worse. It's hard to imagine what would have happened if Christina had been a bad student. Then Victoria would definitely not have given her a peaceful life. She would have picked on her for any reason. Once the girl was unintentionally late for class, but after that, Victoria gave her so much homework that Christina couldn't do it until the end of the week. Even for the slightest mistake, she worked so hard that it is simply impossible to describe in words. She will never forget it. Not only did she have to apologize all day long, cry, but she also had to listen to the following classes about how irresponsible she was and that in the future she would have big problems because of this, while there was not a single case when Alice came with her homework done. It was a real mockery, but her parents didn't know anything about it. She didn't want to tell anything because they already had plenty of other problems. It will be very difficult for her, but this is her destiny, and if the girl copes after this, she will not be afraid of anything. And in the meantime, the next day has come. Today they have another lesson, and as soon as Victoria began to tell the topic of today's lesson, the girl's father knocked on the door and said that Christina invited him to sit next to him so that he could see how everything happens. Christina is very happy, but the teacher is not so happy because she was planning to take revenge on the girl, and in general it will be difficult for her to communicate normally with two children because she is not used to it at all. The girl asks how the teacher likes this idea, and she herself can't wait to see how normally her lesson can go. Father will be able to see that Victoria does not ask anything from Alice. The teacher will have to treat them equally and ask questions equally as it should be. The woman sees Christina so pleased for the first time, and she also thinks that this will be the hardest lesson in all the time she has worked here. She really wants to say that she is not ready for this, but after such words, there may be a lot of suspicion in her direction. She doesn't even know what to do now because Alice has very good grades, better than Christina, and if you ask her even one question, she simply won't answer it. But her older sister doesn't worry at all. But that's not all. Christina prepared her last test paper, where there is not a single mistake, and at the bottom there is the lowest grade, which is absolutely not justified. She also showed Alice's work, where nothing is even written, but there is a top score, as if the grades were mixed up. The man asked how this was possible, and his wife joined them, who now understands why Christina didn't like going to class. Now someone will have to justify themselves. This is a very serious matter, and the gentleman is unlikely to tolerate this. He knows all this educational material very well. He saw how well Christina did and does not understand where these terrible grades come from. All this time he thought that she had problems with this, but as it turned out, she is an excellent student. He can't even find the words to say how unexpected this is for him. He thought that Victoria was a wonderful teacher and that it was impossible to find a replacement for her. He demands that she explain why she treats his daughter so unfairly, giving one low marks and praising the other for nothing. Victoria began to explain that he simply misunderstood everything. Supposedly, she simply mixed up her grades. But now the question is why she has been mixing them up for so many years, and as a result, Christina is a poor student and Elisa is an excellent student. She started saying that she was deliberately devoting more time to Christina because Alice supposedly understood everything well anyway. And grades, that's not the main thing. The man doesn't understand how she can say such things. He doesn't see any logic in her words. They hired her to teach children. They used some of their own methods. The girl's mother also remembered how Christina always said that she didn't like studying, but since the girl was a very good student, it turns out that the problem was in the teacher himself, because it can't be that a child didn't like studying, and at the same time, everything worked out for him. Now, Alice definitely won't be able to get ahead of Christina. Everyone has found out the truth, and it can't be that such a Victoria will remain unpunished. The gentleman will either order her to improve and will check her, or he will simply fire her, as he wanted initially. The man also asked to cover the ears of his wife and daughter so that they would not hear what he would say to the teacher. No one listened to him because everyone wanted to understand the situation and hear everything that was happening. The teacher even allowed herself to say that she knows better how to teach children and that they would hardly be able to find anyone better than her. To this, the man only laughed and said that it could be checked starting tomorrow because something told him that absolutely any teacher would definitely be better than Victoria. He had once heard that teachers could dislike their students, but he never thought that such a situation would directly affect him. Christina felt incredibly pleased that he was protecting her so much. Now everything would finally be fair, and if they got a new teacher, Alice would start to get tense, because otherwise, her parents would be very unhappy with her, and no one would tell them that everything was fine with her if it really wasn't. It turns out that the issue with studying will definitely be resolved, but it will definitely be necessary to take revenge on Alice personally somehow. The gentleman not only yelled at her, but also made her feel everything his daughter felt every time she was accused of absolutely nothing. Only in the case of Victoria, she deserved all this. It would be better to fire her altogether, but perhaps the man will give her a chance, so as not to waste time and not look for someone new. Even if the woman stays, one more small mistake on her part, and she will be fired forever. Alice stood aside all this time. She tried to draw as little attention to herself as possible, so as not to fall under the hot hand of her father, because it had already become clear to everyone that when she was telling about her sister's bad grades, she simply wanted to ruin their opinion of her, although she herself really didn't know anything. Meanwhile, a whole week passed. During this time, nothing interesting happened. The girl simply enjoyed a quiet life and for the first time did not try to hide from the teacher. The girl woke up and immediately received a letter from Leo. It was an invitation to some tea party. Naturally, she agreed to go there without hesitation, and she also really likes that life seems to be getting better. She managed to slightly ruin her sister's reputation. Her parents began to be more attentive to her, and Alice is not very happy about this. Here they have already approached the gazebo. The assistant told the gentleman that she brought a guest to him and asked how else she could help. He told her that he didn't need anything for now, asked the girl to join him, and she was a little nervous because they hadn't seen each other for a long time, and she didn't know what the reason for the meeting was. She can't believe that he just invited her to talk. Or maybe that's how it is. Suddenly, he just wanted to talk to her and spend time, because he mostly walks and drinks tea only by himself. Christina greeted him, thanked him for the invitation, and said that it was very unexpected, and also that as soon as she saw the letter, she immediately started getting ready. She didn't even have breakfast before the trip. It doesn't seem like he's happy to hear this. Maybe after a while he'll become a little kinder, like he did last time. Leo looks at her with such a look as if she recently deceived him, and he found out about it. It's good that the girl knows that he just has such a character, and that's the only reason she didn't worry. She is already impatiently waiting for him to tell her how she can help him, and she will be most happy if he just wanted to see her without a reason. She really liked this bright gazebo. It is very cozy here. She would come here every day, and then we'll see how it goes. Christina thought that he would immediately start talking to her, but he was silent, as if he was thinking about where to start or wanted to hear something from her. She tries to pretend that nothing bothers her, but this silence is already starting to make her wary with every passing minute. Meanwhile, he still hasn't said anything to her. He started pouring tea silently, and she is already barely holding back from asking at least something. She thought that the meeting would go very comfortably, but in reality, everything was somehow not so, although maybe everything will change. Suddenly, he wants to say something very important or ask, but for now, he is shy and trying to get used to her again. To somehow start a conversation, she noticed that there were very few servants on the premises today, so she asked what it was connected with, and he replied that he simply gave most of them a day off. He does that sometimes, especially to those who work well and do everything on time when he asks, but this is very unlike him. The girl already imagined him with such a cold expression on his face, telling someone that they were giving him a couple of days off. Christina is already starting to feel tense, because if there was no reason, he would at least ask how she is doing, but it's as if he is preparing for a very important conversation. The lady was not used to such a person. She always thought that she was not a talkative person. Apparently, she just never met truly not talkative people. She was so tired of being silent that she started saying how much she liked the estate, and that if she lived here, she would add more flowers so that there would be a pleasant smell around. At that moment, when he didn't even answer this, she had already run out of patience, and she said that it was a little offensive to talk as if to herself. He started making excuses that it was very difficult for him to talk to people about neutral topics, so he waited for her to start talking about something herself. The girl says that if she tells something, it would be nice for him to at least comment on something so that she doesn't feel awkward. With these words, she upset him a little because she pointed out his mistake, and he really doesn't like that. After that, he said that if they saw each other more often, it would be much easier for him to communicate with her. It sounded like a hint that she could come to him at her own discretion and that he would not be against it. His cheeks turned red. Leo is so worried as if he is seeing her for the first time, and in fact, he is already starting to not like it a little. Christina tries to act as if everything is fine, but she thinks that they need to see each other at least 10 more times so that he starts to get used to her. She has no idea how to approach him, but she will try to come up with something if, of course, it is possible. Finally, he offered her to drink tea since it had already cooled down to the right temperature, which would be comfortable to drink. This is his favorite variety, in which you can feel the notes of fruits and the smell of vanilla. If he does not drink this tea in the morning, you can consider that the day was a failure. Leo offers regular tea to all his guests, but he prepared his favorite tea for Christina, and that says a lot. After he took one sip, he felt much more comfortable, as if he hadn't just sat in silence for half an hour. The boy also started telling that when he started opening presents, he couldn't even watch everything to the end. The girl replied that it must be really great when they give a lot of gifts, so many that you can't look at them all at once. She would also like to have so many gifts someday. She accidentally said it out loud, and it seems that Leo took it too literally. He started asking when her birthday was and promised that he would arrange the same problem for her, and she was so happy that she even forgot to answer that it was not necessary. Moreover, they don't know each other so well that he would give her so much. Moreover, his mere presence would be enough, and the birthday itself won't be soon. After that, Leo started to talk about how it must be very hard for her to be with such a boring person like him, and also, since the very day they last saw each other, he has been wondering why she communicates with him. Because in her place, he would never have paid attention to such a complex person like him who needs to be approached. He thinks there are a lot of interesting people around, and it's very strange that she didn't ignore his letter. The girl doesn't understand how he can say such a thing, because everything is very simple. If she communicates with someone, then there is no hidden meaning in it. Literally half an hour passed, and now they are happily chatting and smiling so sincerely that it is very pleasant to watch from the outside, especially considering their situation. After such conversations, people usually become very close, get used to each other, and become very good friends. Christina has already thought about it. Now she just wants to know for sure, or even hear from him personally, that he is also interested in it. The more they talked, the faster they started changing topics, and even started thinking about what they could do next time, because it would be too boring to sit and drink tea every day, especially in such good weather. And she also really wants to start sharing her problems with him that are related to her sister, so that he would give her some advice or just support her. But for now, it seems to her that it is too early for this. Or maybe he won't be interested at all. Most likely she's wrong, but there really is no need to rush into this yet. Everything has its time. Christina is absolutely happy with today's meeting. She also wanted to invite him to her place, only now she herself is embarrassed to tell him about it. The girl feels that if they see each other at least a couple of times a week, something good will definitely come out of it. Now she just needs to get to know this person better and make sure that he feels comfortable with her too. Because the less they both think about what and how to say, it will be much easier for everyone. For now, they don't want to be too intrusive to each other. They talk less about themselves, they are not as open as they could be, and that's the whole problem for now, but it can be solved. After they had already agreed to say goodbye, he suddenly began to quietly approach. At first, Christina did not notice it, but at some point she felt that he had never been so close to her before. There was literally a couple of centimeters of distance left between them, but this definitely meant something, and the closer he got, the more her hands shook. At this point, he asked her to open her mouth a little, and after this phrase, she almost lost consciousness, because she expected anything from him, but not this, her, and considering how shy he had just been. The girl was so embarrassed and confused that without thinking, she did what he asked, but everything turned out differently than she thought. Christina just misunderstood him. In fact, he just wanted to give her something, and she already imagined all sorts of things. Leo gave her his favorite chocolate candy. He just noticed that she hadn't tried anything and suggested she eat what she was crazy about. And then the guy realizes that he said something that sounded too ambiguous. He apologized for it and explained that he didn't mean to make her feel embarrassed. Even though it was really awkward, Christina replied that it was okay because if she had told the truth about what she had actually experienced, then he would have definitely stopped talking to her and would have felt even more guilty. And the girl also started to feel strange because he became too self-confident, as if just an hour ago, he wasn't afraid to say a few words to her. She even told him that she likes it when he is sincere with her and is not afraid to show himself as he really is. For her, it is really very valuable, and if each time he will show himself like this, she will only be happy. In the end, they agreed to become more open to each other and even held hands, which was very cute. Meanwhile, he looked at his watch and saw that the carriage would soon arrive, which meant that they had to say goodbye. She told him that she would look forward to the next meeting and thanked him for this wonderful tea party. She liked it so much that now she doesn't even want to go home. And she also had an idea. Since he hadn't had time to unpack all his gifts, she would really like to be present at that moment to see what he had been given. Of course, he agreed. It would be even more fun. All that was left was to decide on the day and time when they would both be free. Leo started to feel embarrassed again. He still feels unaccustomed to communicating with a girl, that he constantly feels like he is behaving somehow wrong, and from the outside it may look like he has fallen in love with her, but it is possible that this is true and he is just trying to hide it. And in the meantime, he also told her that it was very nice and that he would also like to come visit her. Only it would probably be better if it happened after some time. Moreover, her parents might misunderstand everything, and he wouldn't really want her sister to pester them. Meanwhile, the boy returned to the house. He noticed one assistant and decided to ask him something. The assistant asked how he could help. He was not busy right now and could answer any question or even do something. The gentleman just wanted to know what he thought of Lady Christina, with whom he had recently become friends. He replies that he doesn't know this person personally, so he can't say anything about her, and he also smiled so strangely that Leo thought to punish him a little. The gentleman saw how the assistant was watching him all this time, how much tea he drank with his girlfriend. He wants to know why he did this and hear an explanation about it. The assistant started to tell that he was just passing by, saw that in a long time the gentleman was talking to a girl for the first time, so he decided to take a look. After they had already started talking a little, Ryan still said something about the girl. That is what he was told about her, that she does not have the best reputation, and in general, her sister is much better. Leo immediately realized that these were just rumors, because he personally saw that Alice could not be better than Christina, at least in behavior. He got to know Christina only from the good side, and after he got used to being frank with her, he accidentally confessed this, after which the assistant began to think that the gentleman had fallen in love. Leo hates it when he says something like that, although he understands that it is his own fault that he said too much. And anyway, it wasn't that important for him to know the assistant's opinion. He asked about it only because he was bored, but next time he won't do it. Meanwhile, Ryan had some things to do. He asked the master to let him go. After that, they said goodbye and wished each other a good day. Overall, the boy didn't really like that he talked to this person. His mood got a little worse, but now he will learn from his mistakes. Left alone, he began to remember how good it was for him with Christina. He was literally drawn to her like a magnet, and he could not explain it to himself. He is crazy about her long, snow-white hair, pink cheeks when she is embarrassed, and smiles that you want to look at forever. And as for her gentle voice, it was a special pleasure for him. That's probably why he was silent, so that she would talk more than he did. At that moment, he caught himself thinking that usually such feelings are experienced when you fall in love with a person. He feels awkward admitting it to himself. Leo never thought he would be thinking about relationships so soon, and he feels awkward even thinking about it. He recalled every time she touched him, every time she said his name in her copper voice with incredible tenderness. He is very sad to think that at some point it may turn out that these feelings are not mutual. But when he remembers how she tells him that he is very pleasant and fun to be with, such thoughts immediately disappear. And he gets in the mood for the whole day, a smile only until he sees himself in the mirror. He likes to look at himself more serious, and he never liked embarrassed red cheeks. Meanwhile, several days passed. From early morning, the whole mansion was bustling, and the reason for this was that someone came to visit them, or rather, acquaintances whom they had not seen for a long time. And today, it just so happened that everyone had free time. The man invited these people to celebrate their appointment to the barony, although everyone understands perfectly well that they did this in order to maintain contact and not lose useful contacts. These people own a trading company, Citron, and the head of the family is the main supplier to the ducal house, and he recently received the title of Baron. To celebrate this event, the father invited the Baron and his family to dinner. Only Christina doesn't have a very good feeling, although she was really looking forward to meeting this person. This is her new candidate for tutor, Baroness Citron, who seems much nicer than Victoria, at least for now. Citron Company will continue to grow and expand in the future. Whoever maintains this success with knowledge and attention to detail, this lady is one of them. Christina already understands that if you build a connection with her, in the future she can become a good ally. And this will definitely not be superfluous. This is the girl's first goal for today, but as for the second goal, it is also quite difficult in Tornillo. But possible. It is desirable for her to make friends with the only daughter of this family. Maya is a very shy girl, but if you make friends with her, she is very kind. Christina was the first to approach her. She said that she was glad to meet her, but the girl was silent and didn't react at all. After that, Alice approached her. She didn't ask permission, started hugging her as if they were best friends who hadn't seen each other for many years. Maya tries to hint that she is not in the mood, but Alice doesn't care at all. She doesn't even seem to hear it. Moreover, she also started saying that she and Maya would become friends, and that Christina might not even bother them. It's not clear yet what the point is for the younger sister to communicate with her. They have absolutely nothing in common. Something tells me that while this family is here, Alice will definitely arrange something, and she will also use Maya for this, who is unlikely to be able to refuse her anything. Christina tries to approach them, but her younger sister is so persistent that she doesn't even let her get close. The girl herself doesn't yet understand what she wants from this meeting, but one thing is clear. Something needs to be done with Alice, because she literally ruins everything that can be done. She can pretend to be so nice that Maya won't even pay attention to Christina, and that can't be allowed. They have already started talking about different topics. Christina feels completely superfluous. Although she herself wanted to use this acquaintance to her advantage, she is still upset that Alice is doing the same thing now. If she were in her place, there would be nothing wrong with it for her. But she is angry with her sister because she would also like to be able to pretend and win people over from the first word. The girl deliberately doesn't move too far away from them. She tries to be as close as possible, but so far she hasn't noticed any results. Maya only communicates with Alice, and this is very bad, and before it's too late, she needs to come up with something now. The younger sister has already started using all possible methods. She allegedly admires the girl's appearance, gives her compliments. From the outside, it all looks terrible, but probably just because Christina knows how insincere these words are. It seems that the situation is absolutely hopeless. These two are unlikely to want to accept her into their company. Christina feels uneasy because everything she has planned already seems somehow impossible. And in the meantime, literally half an hour later, some ladies started to come to them. They arranged a tea ceremony together with Alice, and no one has invited Christina yet. She sits on the sidelines, even outside this gazebo. They simply don't notice her, and Alice tries to do everything possible to keep it that way. She sees perfectly well that her sister is sitting on the sidelines, sad, and this only makes her happy and amuses her. She has no choice but to read the book and wait until she is noticed, because going back to her parents could be a mistake. They will start asking why she is not with the others, and she thought that Christina does not know how to find a common language with people. She starts to feel sick when she looks at her happy sister, and it also seems that at any second she will look at her with an ominous gaze that gives goosebumps. And then it started. Alice suddenly approached her sister, asked why she wasn't coming to them, although she knew the answer to this question perfectly well, and after that she invited her to join in and said that she would even pour her a cup of tea. Alice is so good at pretending that if Christina didn't know what she really is, she would never think that it is generally undesirable to communicate with this person, and that if she communicates with someone, it is only for her own benefit. The girl doesn't know what to answer, and everyone is looking at her, and it would be wrong if she refuses. Christina has no idea what her sister has planned. She had to agree, and now she will have to watch her every move. She couldn't just invite her for company. She probably already has something in mind and wants to embarrass her in front of everyone. So far, nothing foreshadows trouble. She was invited to drink tea. They offered to add a special flower there, which would reveal the taste of the drink even better. The girl immediately thought that something was wrong here. Maya even helped her through one flower when the other girls at that moment tried to distract Christina. At first, she didn't understand why they were doing this, but then she looked closer and saw some kind of insect in the center of the flower, which they had probably put there on purpose. She now has a very difficult choice in front of her. She is afraid to refuse, and even more so, to say that she noticed something inedible here, because everyone who took part in this will probably conspire and make sure that Christina cannot and does not want to complain to anyone. It's clear that Alice talked them all into it. There are simply no other options. Lucky that Christina knew what to expect from her and was attentive. At this moment, Maya notices this insect and immediately begins to remove it from the cup. This means that she did not see it and did not notice how it appeared there. She apologized to Christina because she almost poisoned her. The girl even felt pleased. She was convinced that at least one of them was not as cruel as her sister. Of course, she forgave her. Maya was afraid that someone might drink this cup and began to take out a flower from there. And at that moment, and made it clear that this should not be done. Only she did not leave alone, that Christina noticed this and would definitely not leave this situation without attention. If she wants to complain, she can take Maya as a witness, and the younger villain will get what she deserves and will be disgraced. Maya started to react as if she was moving away from Alice and wanted to go over to her sister's side. Everyone knows the Citron family. They have established themselves as a merchant house. The reason why the business has grown so much is thanks to the father, the current manager, and the support of loved ones. And in the meantime, they had already returned home, and the father called his daughter for some kind of conversation, although this happens very rarely and means that it will be something serious. It turns out he just wanted to advise her to hang out more with girls her age, because she has almost no friends, and it would be nice to make new acquaintances. Maya understands that this way she can be useful to her father. She always tries to please him, and since they have a good relationship, she does it with pleasure. Just as she came into the kitchen to ask what they were having for lunch today, she happened to look to the side and saw Alice coming in. She didn't expect this at all, but that's not all. After her, the head of the family came in, but the girl doesn't remember them warning about their visit. It can't be that her father didn't warn her. He always warns about such things, so their appearance will also be a surprise for him. Maya can't believe her eyes, but she would have been happier if the man had come with his eldest daughter, because she now treats Alice with apprehension. The assistant called the gentleman. The Duke immediately began to apologize for the sudden visit, and the owner of the house said that it was a great honor for them to receive such guests at any time. Maybe he wasn't very happy that his plans had changed slightly, but he couldn't answer differently, and in the meantime, Alice had already pestered the girl and started asking how she was doing. She suggested that they go for a walk while the adults talked, and the girl agreed only out of politeness. Alice began to tell that she missed him very much, that it was she who persuaded her father to come sooner, although he planned to do it a couple of days later. Maya hardly answers anything. She doesn't know what to say, and all because she simply doesn't want to get too close to her, because she saw what kind of person she really is and how she can treat those she doesn't like. The girl doesn't understand how Alice can be so cruel and cute at the same time. She would never have thought that this person could hate someone so much. While they were talking, Alice saw the jewelry and asked to try on some of it. Of course, no one refused her, although it was a little rude on her part. It seems like the guest is talking to herself. She barely even hears what Maya is telling her. And almost every time she interrupts her and starts changing the topic when she is not interested in listening to her friend. She is a terribly uncomfortable conversationalist. It is impossible to have a normal conversation with her. You just have to be silent and listen to what she says. And she constantly admires herself in the mirror and hints that she would like to receive one of these decorations as a gift. Maya has never met such impudent people before. She is not going to give her anything, but she cannot say it directly yet. And at this time, the girl hints more and more how she does not want to take it off. While her friend doesn't answer, Alice understands that she doesn't really want to share anything with her, and she doesn't even have a thought that in fact no one here is obliged to do anything. She is a guest and should at least be grateful that there are people here and that someone is spending their time on her. And then it started. Alice heard somewhere that you can tell your friends everything. She confessed that she was in love with one guy, but her sister communicates with him much better and she can't get close to them, although she would really like to. Maya still didn't understand what to say to this. It seemed like a hidden request for help, although she doesn't even know the prince and has never met him, not to mention having any influence on him. She got the impression that this was the reason why Alice was in such a hurry to see her. And when the girl heard that her friend couldn't help her in any way, she reacted as if she hadn't expected it. Maya regretted becoming friends with this person. She feels that it will not end well, and it is possible that sooner or later a situation will occur after which Alice will hate her as much as her sister. And this can happen right after Maya stops being useful to her or refuses to help in something. What bothers her most is the fact that Alice is too persistent and she has no idea what to expect from her. Out of the blue, she started trying on different jewelry on her, and she didn't even ask if she wanted it or not. She doesn't care whether her friend is in a good mood or a bad one. The main thing is that she wanted to do it, and everything else is no longer important. Probably everything will depend only on Maya's mood and endurance, because as long as she tolerates this, Alice will do whatever she wants. Alice smiles all the time. She manipulates so that no one says anything to her that could ruin her mood. It works in such a way that when she smiles at someone, the person becomes embarrassed and uncomfortable to say that he doesn't like something. Meanwhile, finally, Father called Alice. He probably already decided all his affairs and it was time for them to leave. At that moment, the friend was very happy, and Alice started to run away, and at the very last moment remembered that it wouldn't hurt to say goodbye. The girl was left with very mixed emotions. She doesn't want Alice to come again without warning, and she wouldn't want it with a warning either. It turns out that Christina just joined them. She asked where her sister was. That's why her father called her. The girl specifically asked for hot tea for herself so she could pour the whole cup on Alice and lighten the mood a little. And then she started apologizing with a very sweet expression on her face, like a sister usually does. She did it so professionally, as if it was an accident, that no one even said anything to her. Christina watched Alice's reaction with pleasure. This is only the beginning, because the girl is determined to take revenge for every time she cried in her room because of her. And what she did now is the least of what she deserves. The sister got so angry that she asked the assistant to bring her a hot cup of tea, but her father stopped her in time and said that it would be very low of her. When she went to dry her hair, Christina and Maya stayed, and Maya even said that she felt much more comfortable with her than with Alice. It turns out that, in fact, the girl did not go to tidy herself up, but to complain to her father that Christina had deliberately spilled tea on her. The man came to sort out the situation. He asked the eldest daughter to apologize to the youngest because, indeed, she was very upset. Alice thought that she had taken revenge on her sister, but she was too early to rejoice because if Christina were to apologize to her, she would do it in such a way that it would hurt her even more. The girl says that of course she agrees to apologize. For this, she even began to come closer to her. To make her father happy, she hugged Alice, but she didn't do it just like that. She ran her hands through her hair to make it hurt, and also pressed hard on her head, making it seem like she really felt sorry for her, and she was very good at it. And then she touched her hair again and pulled it so hard that Alice almost screamed throughout the room. Because Christina did it so quietly, even if her sister had complained about something, her father would have thought she was pretending, so she had to just keep quiet. The man is happy that the girls made up. For him, this is the most important thing, but he can't even imagine how much they hate each other at this moment, at least because they had to hug. At that moment, Alice couldn't stand it and pushed her sister away from her. And from the outside, it looked like she was apologizing to her, but Alice didn't think that was enough. Only now, Christina did as her father asked, and perhaps now Alice will have to apologize for behaving this way. At that moment, Alice saw those same little flowers in her friend's hand. She thought that this should be used. Snatched the jar from her hands, was not ashamed, and began to tell her parents that Christina wanted to poison her, although everything was exactly the opposite. Now, everything depends only on Maya. She can say that all this is not true if, of course, she has a conscience. The girl said that there was some kind of insect inside this flower, and if she swallowed it, she could die. Although the most that can happen to a person after this is mild poisoning, and she is exaggerating too much. For some reason, the father pretended not to hear all this. He began to teach his daughter manners, and she only became more angry because of this. She can no longer cope with Christina, but as luck would have it, she came up to her and started to calm her down. It seems that one more second or one more word from her, Alice will flare up and do something that everyone will remember for a very long time. Christina is already looking at her with this sinister gaze. Alice understands perfectly why she is doing this, because she remembers that she herself looked at her in exactly the same way. She can't stand such pressure because everything was usually under her strict control, and now she is being disgraced more and more every day. She doesn't even know what to do now to turn the situation in her favor. It's as if it's simply impossible. The father had to apologize for his daughter's behavior. He was most ashamed that they came without warning and did such a thing. They started telling him that everything was fine. After all, they were children and they get used to society that way. Alice was upset that he apologized only for her. That is, Christina's behavior means nothing to him. Meanwhile, they are all already home. The girl is very happy with today. She has put her sister in her place more than once, as she dreamed of for many years. The more she sees her displeased look, the better her mood becomes. Now she understands her in some ways. It's very nice to see hatred in the eyes of the enemy, and several times a day, nothing better can be imagined. She lay down calmly on her soft bed, finally able to relax and be pleased with herself. It would be great if she punished her like this every day. The only thing she is ashamed and uncomfortable about is in front of Maya's family. Meanwhile, her assistant disturbed her. He took something for her that could be interesting, even when she is resting and does not want to see or hear anyone. The girl received a letter. She assumes that it might be from the prince because, why, someone else would hardly send her something like that. Meanwhile, the next day had come. The previous night had passed wonderfully. She had slept as never before and went out to the servants in a great mood. They also hadn't seen her in such a good mood since the morning, because usually the girl has mourning. This is the worst time. It's better not to even approach her at such moments. But here she herself came up and greeted everyone she saw. And she also told them that yesterday she received a letter from Prince Leo. Everyone knew that she received a letter. They just couldn't guess from whom exactly. Everyone started to be happy for her because they thought that it meant only one thing, that he had fallen in love with her and was asking her out on a date. The lady felt awkward hearing such words from them. She promised to tell everything else a little later because now she has a meeting with some person who will help her prepare for the prince. Naturally, Alice is already eavesdropping on everything. She no longer knows how to fight her sister, so she just watches this from the side and looks for a reason to harm her. Considering how smart she is, she can even use this information to create a whole show. Meanwhile, Christina had already come to Citron's house. Firstly, to establish relations with them, and secondly, these people are very good at style and helped her complete the image so that every detail looked great. The assistant was happy to help. She wished them both a good day and said that they didn't need her for now. She would go do her own thing, and of course, they let her go. Christina thanked them for accepting her, although after the recent incident, she thought that they wouldn't even let her in the doorway. And today the girl planned to apologize to Maya because she imagines what she now thinks about their family. She started to explain that they were all normal, only Alice was a little fixated on ruining her life. And she also said that her sister is never sincere, and even when she smiles with someone, inside she thinks about getting benefits. Now Maya understood why she was so uncomfortable, and it seemed like she wasn't interested in her from the very beginning. Christina also suggested that she get rid of those flowers, because it is possible that Alice will add something there again. Only after the recent incident, it will be something less noticeable, and she really does not want anyone to suffer from her. The biggest problem is that there are a lot of these flowers growing around. They are added to tea because they are sweet and give a very pleasant aroma. The girl proposed a deal that they could both help each other, especially to fight the dark side. It's a good thing. Maya eventually agreed. She became her ally, and to begin with, she threw out all those flowers that had already been collected. Maya is very glad that she switched to the light side, because being friends and communicating with Alice was not only unpleasant, but also somewhat dangerous. She can't imagine how she could feel that Alice wasn't telling her everything, and at the same time remain friends with her and trust her. The girl also wanted to apologize that at first she listened to her sister, but now she is glad that coming to help her understand who is who. Maya felt from the first day that these two sisters were very different and that they had almost nothing in common. Now she is absolutely sure that if she is going to be friends with anyone, it will only be with Christina, and she will have to somehow ignore Allison. Christina is making great progress every day. She is absolutely happy with herself. Now the main thing is not to stop and not to be afraid of her younger sister. They had a very nice conversation. The girl told something about her sister so that her new friend could better understand why she shouldn't communicate with Alice. Maya still talks to her too formally, so the girl suggested that from now on, they establish rules that no more formal words. She will be very pleased if the girl calls her by name, and she can call her the same way, in a friendly way. It got to the point that they started thinking about becoming friends. This time, the girl is sure that Christina is the one to be friends with. She even admitted that it was very comfortable and much more pleasant to talk to her than to Alice, who never even listened to her and was only fixated on her own. The girl replied that she was just that kind of person, and she already knew her sister so well that she could tell her a lot of new things. Meanwhile, her next meeting is planned with the prince, only he didn't say what time he'll arrive. Christina got ready in advance, started walking along the corridor to calm down, although she doesn't even know why she's so worried. In the letter, he promised that he would arrive closer to the evening. It would soon get dark outside, but he was still not there. She even thought that he might have had some problems, maybe even on the way. Christina still believes that he will come to her. She has complete harmony inside, and for complete happiness, the only thing missing is him next to her. She had such bright thoughts that she had already forgotten that she could meet her sister, who was just walking towards her. With a high probability, it was not by chance. It's very interesting how it will all end, because Alice already looks at her as if she were the main enemy in her life. Although this is true, at first she even tried not to pay attention to her, although she understands that this is unlikely to work. Surprisingly, they even passed each other as if they had become invisible. But everything can't go so easily, without incident. Christina felt very well how bad energy passed through her body, like a draft. And then it started. Alice couldn't pass by. She first made a compliment that the hair decoration that the prince sent her along with the letter was so chic that she would like to try it on herself. This was said before she began to rip the decoration out of her hair, as if she were picking a flower from a flower bed, without any embarrassment. She did it so quickly that her sister didn't even have time to react. And when she got up to catch up with her, it was already too late. Moreover, she didn't want to deal with her. She would simply tell the prince this situation to explain why she was without a gift. And Alice is so pleased, as if it was he who personally gave her the hairpin, and not her sister from whom she snatched it. Literally a couple of minutes later, Alice was already on the bed with a broken arm. She ran so hard that she fell down the stairs, and now she can't even move it. She never broke anything for herself, but today apparently karma caught up with someone. It was quite fair. Now she can't say for sure that it's all because of Christina, because Mom personally saw her fall, running away from her. The girl started apologizing to her parents for making them worry and wasting their time that they could spend on something more important. The father said that when his daughter was in such a state, nothing could be more important, and she was very pleased to hear this. Mom started crying because it was very painful for her to watch Alice's arm hurt so much that she even had to bandage it. Meanwhile, Christina went to her father to find out how Alice was doing, but he was so upset that he couldn't even say a few words. He is in no mood at all because he understands that his daughter will have to lie in this condition for at least another week. Now she needs to be looked after, and they don't have any free time anyway, and the servants can't cope either. The girl told him that they would definitely cope with all this. The main thing is not to give up, because after a bad streak, a good one will definitely come. These are just temporary difficulties that need to be overcome, and if necessary, she will be able to help with something. Although she said this only out of politeness, in fact, she does not even want to look at Alice. She absolutely does not care how she feels, just as she usually did not care about her